EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to the JAKIB Pregame Show. It's preseason game number 2 kicking off today. I'm joined now by Johnny Mac, who's live from Lincoln Financial Field. J-Mac's been down there for a few hours. John, bright and early, you were at the stadium. How you doing on this Saturday morning, brother?
Doing well. Yeah, excited for 1 o'clock game. That's always the positive of any NFL game, but certainly in the preseason.
I can see it, John. I can see the excitement on your face for a 1 p.m.er.
1 p.m. games are nice. They are nice. So there's no pressure. There's no getting locked in.
Yeah, right.
Everything's copacetic at 1 p.m.
Yep. Well, Johnny Mac, preseason game number 2 today, man. Just first couple names for this Eagles team to watch today, and then just any updates you have as well. Well, let's start on the updates. Is Tanner McKee playing? Do we know anything about who's playing on the Philadelphia Eagles today, or who is not playing today?
Well, we'll have more information hopefully as the show goes on. The Eagles have been out to practice, but obviously all the key players are not going to play. Chandler Hurts was out doing some stuff very, very early before anybody else was out on the field. Tanner McKee, if he does play, it's going to be a series or 2 at the most. I'd be even surprised. Tyler Steen was out looking like he's not going to play. So even though the Eagles refused to call it, that right guard competition never even developed. But defensively, that's what we talked about pretty consistently. Starts with the cornerbacks, but Sidney Brown's going to play. You're going to see some Jihad Campbell. So the younger players, even the ones trending in a positive direction, are going to play. And obviously, the biggest story of all, whether you want to say Adoree Jackson, Kaylee Ringo, Ja'Cory Bennett, that competition moves on, and the Eagles have to. They have 2 preseason games left, counting this one, and 3 training camp practices left next week. And you want to be in a position to prepare for the opener. After that, the final cut down is August 26th. You want to be in a position to prepare for Dallas, not worry about who your second cornerback's going to be. So you want to make that decision now, even though the competition can, in theory, continue after August 26th. That's just the initial cut down. You want to be able to prepare for the Dallas Cowboys, so you want to make that decision. And these 2 preseason games and those 3 practices are going to be the final case for these players.
John, how much harder is it if you're Howie, if you're Vic Fangio, coming in? That secondary, as you just pointed out, is where everybody has their sights set. But, the interesting thing is, what can you learn for about a secondary versus Dillon Gabriel? I mean, this guy is learning how to be he's never even played in an NFL game yet, so you got to learn about what secondary player is ready to battle and win the job. And you got to do it versus versus a rookie quarterback who's never played in the NFL. A lot different, John, than preseason game number 1 where Joe Burrow is taking you to school.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of it has to do with, fundamentals and technique more than, success or failure, because you're right. If you're out there against Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, you might be up against it. But remember, they only played 9 or 10 snaps. So it wasn't like you had this large sample size. It was just very bad in that short period of time with Jamar Chase. So, one of the things, especially with the younger players, is you want to see that play-to-play consistency. I think that's one of the reasons why, to be honest, that Eli Ricks isn't in the conversation, because he's the one who kind of makes the splash plays. He had a chance for a pick 6 in the game. He had a pick 6 in practice, but he's not getting first-team reps because that play-to-play consistency is not there. So I think that's more what Vic Fangio is looking for. But you're right. I mean, Dillon Gabriel's not going to be the test that Joe Flacco would be, never mind Joe Burrow.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see what we can find out from those guys. John, Jacorian Bennett is set to make his debut as an Eagle. I think, regardless of what he's able to do or not able to do today, he maybe deserves a little bit of leeway. I mean, only week 2 here with the Birds, first game in an Eagles uniform. How do you evaluate a player like that today, and how much leeway, if any, do you give him in a game like this?
Well, I think you give him some leeway in fact that he's learning, but the Dallas Cowboys aren't going to give him any leeway if you want to get him on the field. So
Right.
the whole process is to get him ready as quickly as possible. Or, if you have the mentality that he might be able to help you down the road instead of immediately, then you have a little bit more time. But so, it's going to be interesting to see how Big kind of thinks about this. I think it's, in some ways, it's ironic that Jim Schwartz is here as the DC for the Cleveland Browns, because he's the one who I always coined that term from Jim, startup cost. And Jim was the one who told me that. He's like, sometimes you got to endure these startup costs. And maybe you come out on the back end ahead of the game, generally with younger players. Do the Eagles want to endure those startup costs with Kaylee Ringo or Jacorian Bennett, or do you want to have the more consistent, savvy, experienced presence in Adoree Jackson? In a lot of ways, I think that's the decision Vic has to make. Does he want to go through those startup costs to get to the back end maybe a little bit better with players that have a higher ceiling?
Yeah, maybe last year, John, is an insinuation that he would want to go through that. I mean, week 1 through 4 last year, the defense looked brutal, basically, for lack of a better word. And it really wasn't until week 8, week 9, week 10 where, you really heard Vic starting to show confidence in that unit and say, hey, we might have something here. So maybe that would insinuate that they're good with some of those startup costs, or at the very least, good with the early problems or early things that come up, assuming that you're fighting and getting close to the end goal.
Yeah, it's, if we go back to Thursday practice, again, we'll get a better indication in the game. Essentially, and we use that term bench. You don't get benched in practice, but Kaylee Ringo's meaningful reps really got scaled back from Wednesday to Thursday. Now, maybe that was because it was a big red zone day. Maybe he's more comfortable with Adoree Jackson in the red zone, or even Jacorian Bennett for whatever reason. So it's going to be interesting to see how the reps are divvied out. Number one, and the 3, it seems like Kaylee Ringo's the one going backward. Jacorian Bennett, not from anything other than he's new, is going upward because it's the new sort of toy, but he really hasn't getting thrown in. Oh, there comes the photo bombing. Zander's not big. He missed it. Oh, there it is.
Jacorian who?
Jacorian Bennett. So, a lot of the excitement over Jacorian Bennett is basically because people haven't seen him. He hasn't been that impressive. And then I would say Adoree Jackson is kind of stagnant, just the same. But, maybe that's enough to win it, because at least he's not going back. Oh, you're muted, I think.
John, safety position today, brother. What are you looking to see out there for the Birds?
Well, I think Sidney Brown, in a lot of ways, I think if they didn't want to go in a different direction, he would have already won this job, if that makes sense. I'm not sure they want his style of player, but he's clearly the best option outside Reed Blankenship. My understanding is he's going to play in this game. To me, he should be Tyler Steens. Tyler's not playing. Why is Sidney playing? But, they're looking for Drew Makuba, I think, to turn it on and try to win this thing in the final couple of days. I just don't see it happening. I think Sidney has earned it. Doesn't mean he's going to keep it all year, but he certainly has earned the week 1 start, and I think he has a chance to finish it off today. On the other hand, if he plays poorly, maybe he leaves the door open.
Yeah, and this is Makuba's first game, right? Makuba didn't play in preseason game number 1, if I'm not mistaken, right?
No, he was still banged up. Well, he had returned to practice, but they were being cautious. So this will be his first attempt in the game as well. But he's been back at practice for a few days. And there was that one practice where he got the first rep, the shortest practice of the summer, the one that went about 57 minutes. He got the first rep in that one, but it was back to normal against Cleveland, with Sidney getting the vast majority of the first team reps.
Yeah, John, good stuff there at safety. We'll be tuning in. I'm excited to see Andrew Makuba in his first game action today, being preseason nonetheless. John, linebackers today, you mentioned Jahad Campbell in your open. Who do you expect to play at the linebacker spot? And then what do you want to see from him in today's game?
Well, I think the vast majority is going to be Small London and probably Lance Dixon. He's an undrafted kid that's shown some signs from another Toledo kid. I think he's done a pretty nice job. So I think the vast majority of the game is going to be those two guys. I do think Campbell's going to play a little bit. Trotter's another interesting one. He may have locked down that starting linebacker spot at least early in the season. So it's going to be interesting if they put him out there. My assumption is, knowing Vic, that he wants to see them play at least 8 to 10 reps. I would think. Talking about Trotter, maybe a little bit more for Campbell, but I think it's mostly going to be a Small London, Lance Dixon game.
Yeah, going to be good to see. Going to be interesting to see there on the defensive side of the ball for the linebackers. John, D lineman, Thomas Booker is out. He was out for the first preseason game, but he obviously was traded for Jacorian Bennett. Back at the back of that roster there, or the back of that position group, I guess you should say, defensive tackle, interior defensive lineman. Anyone battling for the spot there? Does it look like it's going to be Gabe Hall? Does Byron Young have a chance? What are you seeing back there at that roster? And then, who's fighting in today's game?
Well, I think Ty Robinson's the fourth guy. And then Gabe Hall, if we're keeping five, is probably have the lead. But, I do think Byron Young is still in the conversation. He had a groin injury, missed a few days of practice. He's back. So, but still, I think it's pretty competitive between those guys. And then it kind of falls off to the Joe Emmons and Jacob Sykeses of the world. But, that grouping of Ty Robinson, obviously the Eagles are going to keep Ty Robinson. But, I don't know if he's ready to play right away. So that Gabe Hall or Byron Young role might be a little bit more important than people think, because they might have to be that fourth rotational guy, at least to start.
We'll see how that shakes out, John, with the defensive tackle position today. Edge rushers, John, being your biggest concern all throughout. All right. I would assume Jalix Hunt will not be playing today. All the other ones battling. What do you want to see from those guys today?
It's a good question. You want to see some plays. You bring up Dylan Gabriel. That's a chance with a young quarterback who's probably going to hold on to the football a little bit. So, this should be a big game for the guys, the Josh Uches, the Azeez Oshalaris, the Obos of the world. They have a chance to make some plays and to make a splash, because Vic said last week, the last time we talked to Vic, some of those guys have to start standing out to show that they belong. Well, this is an opportunity to stand out. And it hasn't been a great summer for Ojulari. Hasn't been. I think Uche showed up a little bit more. I think Obos showed up a little bit more. So of the three, I think it's probably more important for Azeez Ojulari. On the other hand, he's the guy the Eagles gave a little bit of money to. So they're probably going to default to him as well. So, but to me, he needs to show up and start proving that he could be part of this rotation.
Yep, I agree. John, for I got to talk about this with you with Jalix Hunt. All right. I assume he's not going to play today. He didn't play in preseason game number 1, but what should we be looking into this at all? This guy doesn't line up at all on the right side where we expect him to. He's backing up Nolan Smith in practice. They're rotating Uche and Ojulari and the other guy and Obo at the other side. This is joint practice this week that just passed, and you got a guy who is going into year 2, not a lot of snaps, John, who's presumably going to be your starting edge rusher at the other side, and you don't line him up once in day 2 of practice versus the Brown. I mean, am I thinking about this wrong? Talk me through this here.
Well, what I think might have been going on is, as I said, it was a heavy red zone practice. So the vast majority of team drills took place in the red zone. So he's not the stoutest guy. So maybe that's a situational practice. So maybe Vic is a little bit more comfortable with Uche or Obo or even Aziz in that type of situation where you're not just pinning your ears back and going after the quarterback. You're trying to play a more disciplined brand of football in the red zone. There's a lot of things on the table in the red zone that really aren't in the middle of the field. So it could have had something to do with that. And then all of a sudden you take that, and I wish I got to ask Vic that question, but we'll talk to him on next time the Eagles practice, which will be Monday. And I'll try to ask him that question because it was a little bit strange. So, but if that is the case, then you take advantage of it and get him some second team reps on the other side to sort of, because ultimately you want to be able to flip sides during the regular season, to take advantage of matchups. So my hunch is just a hunch. It was because it was a red zone period, and maybe that's when he's thinking about taking Jalix out of the equation. Or it could be just that he wanted to look at those guys at right end, which wouldn't be as positive for Jalix Hunt. But to your point, he was a deference player in the first preseason game.
Right, that's what I'm getting at. Like, if these questions exist, then why isn't he on the field with the other guys battling?
Well, and, the players are just starting to come out on the field. Most of them don't even have their jerseys on. So we're going to know soon. But, yeah, I don't expect him to play today. So that tells you more than if he is playing. If he is playing, it's bad news.
Yeah, right.
If he isn't playing, it's good news.
Yeah, right. All right, good. John, moving over to the offensive side of the ball here. What are you expecting to see today? Not as much questions, John, on the offensive side. We think Tyler Steen has become.
No, there's no. Tyler is, from all indications, he's not going to play. Brett Toth is suited up. He's going to play. And, he needs reps in case they need him in left guard. Darren Kennard is going to get some reps, I would assume, in left guard. Trevor Keegan as well. Drew Kendall is going to be the center. Trevor Keegan is going to be the backup center. So, the offense, there's not much to talk about other than they weren't very impressive against Cleveland in the joint practices.
And my boy Darius Cooper, John, he's going to have a big game today. I feel it.
Again, well, he's going to have to do it probably with Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Kyle McCord. So remember, receivers are at the mercy of the vehicle getting them the football. So, and I understand, and I talk about it all the time, 13 reps, even with good teams like the Eagles, tend to get muddied up. They tend to be ugly at times. So I wouldn't expect the greatest show on turf tonight if people are expecting that.
We don't know yet if Tanner's playing, right? We don't expect him to, but it's still possible he could, or what?
Well, if he does play, it would be for a cameo. It wouldn't be like last week where he's playing into the third quarter. So either way, you're going to see. and he's out there right now throwing, but he's not dressed. He's in shorts and a shirt right now. So, but he is out there throwing. But Jalen Hurts was out there throwing earlier. I mean, that doesn't mean much. But yeah, the vast majority of the game you can be comfortable is going to be DRT, DTR, and Colin.
Yeah, let's see what they see there. John, who is fighting though on the offense? I think it is Darius Cooper. You look at the tight ends, it's Kylan Granson. Maybe it could be one or the other, John. Do they keep 3 tight ends and keep Granson? Do they keep 6 receivers and keep Darius Cooper? I don't think it's as clear cut as that, but it's plausible to think that that's a decision that will have to be made at the 53-man cut down. Who else is fighting out there on the offensive side for a roster spot, even if it's at the very back of the roster?
Well, I think a lot of people misunderstand. Like, I think the assumption is, like, to use Darius Cooper as an example, he's not really fighting with the other receivers for a spot. He's like fighting probably with the backup offensive lineman. Like, who do you want to keep more? And that's sort of the decision Howie Roseman has to make. My assumption is he'll want to go heavy on the offensive line because he always goes heavy on the offensive line, and they have so many NFL-worthy offensive linemen. So that's my thought process why they're going to go heavy there. They might have to go heavy at defensive tackle, as we said. If you need to keep Gabe Hall, you might need to keep Gabe Hall and Byron Young. If Ty Robinson is deemed not ready to play, and he's got to be on the roster, though. So all these things can factor into it. So I think people get too hyper focused on, Darius Cooper's got to beat out Anaya Smith. No, that's not really the conversation. It's, do you want to keep 6 receivers versus maybe 10 or 11 offensive linemen? That's really the conversation the Eagles have to have with themselves.
Yeah, we'll see how that all shakes out. Johnny Mac, your final thoughts on this preseason game number 2 coming up, things to take away. What's the atmosphere like, John? Bring us in. It's a nice day in Southfield, John. It's not too hot. It's not too cloudy. Bring us inside a little bit, John.
Well, the atmosphere is a preseason. It's not, it's not going to be like Dallas on September 4th where they're, unfurling the banner. But people are starting to file in. Very few people are in the stadium right now. No tailgating. You can tell it's preseason because I skated in here. No traffic whatsoever. It's a preseason vibe, I'm sorry to say. Not a lot of excitement to see Dorian Thompson-Robinson get the revenge game, the Dorian Thompson-Robinson revenge game.
That's what we're dubbing it. I love it. Johnny Mac, great stuff today, brother. We'll talk to you a little bit after the game. We'll do a post-game show a little bit briefly here on JAKIB Sports whenever you can join me. We'll talk to you then, brother. Enjoy the game, and we'll catch up with you after. All right, man?
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, there's Johnny Mac. John McMullen joining us right here on the JAKIB pregame show. Preseason game number 2. Preseason game number 2. I know everybody's jacked up. All right. I'm certainly pretty jacked up, to be honest with you. I mean, it's not as exciting, especially if there's no Tanner McKee, but we still have guys that are fighting, man. We still got to know about this secondary. We still want to know about that back end of the offensive roster. Are they going to keep Cooper? Are they going to keep Kylan Granson? What are they going to do with the offensive linemen? I mean, there's still good questions here. By the way, I am working on a mic for John for the season. All right. I got to figure out, anybody have a good intel on that? Just drop me a one down below, man. I'm trying to get a good mic set up and it's tough because the stadium internet, man, it's not really John's problem. It's not John's fault. I don't know what to do. So I'm trying to figure that out. I got the game on back there. I don't think I'm going to stream the whole game today unless you guys really entice me to, which would require some super chats and some memberships of some sort. All right. I hate to do it, but I'm going to do it. Abe says he likes the new Kanga. You like the new Kanga? It's that Bermuda green, baby. It's that Bermuda. Yeah, that Bermuda is nice, man. That Bermuda is real nice. I got a good order. I'll say that. All right. I got a nice order in of Kangos. Okay. I got a nice order in of Kangos. I see Yale's talking about everybody's at skinny Joey's. Skinny Joey's is good, man. Yeah, it's good. It lives up to it, dude. I got one and was really, really impressed. And I've had a lot of cheesesteaks in this area. Basically every single one I've had. All right. Basically every single one I have. So what up, Q? What up, KCA? You can be bought too, my friend. I'm giving away a jersey. All right, I'll become a member. You can be bought too, KCA. We all can. All right. Who subsidizes Tom Smart? I don't think anybody. I don't know. Keith says J-Mac needs a 30K streamer. But I saw that, Keith. Who released that? Was that Kai? I think I saw Kai do that. Get him an AirPod. Dominique, for some reason, the AirPods don't work with the with our platform that we use here, Todd. I don't know why. Even if I use them, I mean, they make hollow audio. They don't sound right. It's weird because they're great headphones. I mean, I have a pair too. So, but plenty of things still to talk about here with this game, guys. My sights are fully set on Andrew Makuba, and my sights are fully set on the cornerback 2 battle. All right. Does Ringo play? Does Adoree Jackson play? What does Jacorian Bennett do? First game as a Philadelphia Eagle for Jacorian Bennett. All right. I mean, look, give him a little bit of time. I think he maybe deserves, as John pointed out. John, great answer, by the way. I said, how much leeway for Bennett today? First game as an Eagle, right? John says, well, you give him leeway in terms of, the evaluation and knowing that he's learning the system. But the Dallas Cowboys aren't going to give him any leeway in week 1. So if he's not ready to play, it doesn't really matter about fucking leeway. If he's not ready to play, then we're going to know that. And then that's not going to help us early in the season. So what can Ringo do today? Will Ringo play? How much will Ringo play? Will he get burnt? I mean, you're going up today against Dylan Gabriel. And I think Tyler Huntley is the 5th quarterback they signed. They got Flacco's not going to play. Shador is injured and Kenny Pickett is injured. So right now they got Dylan Gabriel, and I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, it's Tyler Huntley. So not the greatest quarterbacks. Tyler Huntley's actually not bad in terms of a playmaking perspective. I kind of liked him when he was back with Baltimore that one year. But still a lot to come from today. But if you're a cornerback, you watch the technique, you watch the position, you watch the fundamentals, when you watch, the communication on the football field, because I'm sorry, but I'm not going to give Keely Ringo a boatload of credit if he's like, oh, he only gave up 1 catch for 7 yards today. And I'm like, you versed Dylan Gabriel. The guy's never took a snap in an NFL game in his life. He didn't play in the Browns preseason game number 1. So you got a brand new quarterback. You don't have probably very many good Browns players playing out there. And you can't really tell much about, a corner like Adoree or Keely or Jacorian. So there's other things you got to look for, but that's probably the worst part of preseason for me, is that, the ones who are battling, are they battling versus competition that can hold up in the NFL? Probably not, right? That's why these are all bottom of the roster guys. So we'll see how it all shakes out, but plenty still to discuss here today. Jihad Campbell's an interesting one. What do we want to see from Jihad? How much will he play today at that linebacker spot? And then will Trotter almost get deference? I mean, you wonder if they have that approach, if they feel good enough about him starting week 1. So you think Trotter might get deference in this game, and we'll watch for that as well with the linebacker spot. We talked about safety a little bit. Your Andrew Makuba. Will Sidney Brown play? I don't know, but it's Andrew Makuba's show today. I mean, look, he didn't play preseason game number 1. We haven't seen the guy in a game setting. I want everybody in the chat to answer me. How much confidence, or let's just make it a yes or no. Do you have confidence in Andrew Makuba? Yes or no? And if it's yes, what is your level of confidence in Andrew Makuba? I don't have much at this point. I'm talking about mainly for this year. I'm not talking about the future. I'm not talking about 26, 27. I'm talking about 2025. I'm talking about right now, this year. What can Andrew Makuba do? Yale says no. I think it's no across the board. I think most people, it should be a no. I mean, that's just what I feel. So, I'm not trying to pick on the player, but I'm trying to win football games. All right. I'm trying to win football games here. And we need a good safety on the field. And Sidney Brown, it's interesting because he really is not the fit for Vic, but if he's the guy that's more ready to play or more capable of handling the playing time, he's going to be the one out there. So I'm kind of hoping, I'm a little hopeful that Sidney Brown can, fundamentally find himself a little bit more, but he is a loose cannon. He is a loose cannon right now, the way he plays on the field. So discipline-wise, and, he doesn't wrap up. He kind of relies on his strength, probably because he's been able to his whole life, which is good, but you're not tackling NFL players by hitting your shoulder in them, dude. You're just not. You're just not. They're too strong. They're too good. They're too fast. They're too quick, too nimble, too sturdy. You got to wrap up. It's just the first thing you learn in CYO or whatever, Pop Warner, whatever you played when you were a kid. You wrap up, all right, and you tackle somebody. Sidney doesn't really do that great. So that's my question with him. And then, he's good downhill, probably a good red zone safety, but in open space, what's he going to be able to do? And remember, the other part about the safeties battle and the edge rushers, it all works together. That's football. It's complementary nature. You guys understand that. The edges help the interior. The interior helps the edge. The edges help the corners and the safeties, and the linebackers, help out the defensive interior, and the safeties and the corners help out the edge rushers by blanketing and coverage. It all works together, right? It all works together. But, how much of an impact is the edge rushers going to have on those safeties this year? How much is two new players in the secondary? It's not like you just lost Slay and got to replace one spot, or you just lost CJ and you got to replace one spot. You got a big safety hole and a big corner hole, and technically a big hole in the edge rusher group too. So how did it's almost like, could it compound each other? The problems, could they compound? They certainly could. It doesn't mean it will, but you got to be careful of it. You got to watch out for it, and you got to try and, get the most out of every one of those spots. And I think the more you get out of the edge rushers, the more it helps the corners. The more it helps the corners, the more they can, vice versa, also help the edge rushers again. So the better they play, the more complementary football they play, I think the better position the defense will be in. Let's go to some chats. I'll take some chats from the comments. Thanks, everybody, for being here. Rakeem Cooper checks in. What's up, Rakeem? Ringo to safety, doesn't have fluid hips to play corner. Haven't put him there yet, Rakeem. So, look, I'm not saying you're wrong, but Vic hasn't even put him there for a single snap all through the summer, through 15 training camp practices, through 2 joint practices, through 1 preseason game, and through 2.5 years of a career here in Philly. Nothing yet. So, Rakeem, again, not saying you're wrong, but I've seen no evidence to insinuate that thought process even exists inside the Eagles organization. All right. Philly 559 says, Carter will make it easy on these guys. Well, he'll help. But if those edge rushers can't get any pressure, well, look, I actually agree with you, because I've wondered if the Eagles are relying on the interior pressure, and it's allowed them, at least in their thought process, it's allowed them to spend less on the edge. Let Josh Sweat walk, and, Jalix is cheap right now. Nolan is cheap right now. Aziz and Uche are both cheap Timu signings. Obo is obviously probably less than $1 million a year. You got a cheap edge rushing group. Collectively, they might make $6, $7, $8 million collectively a year, so maybe they are. Maybe that is what they're relying on, 559. They're saying, all right, as long as we get pressure, doesn't have to come from the edge. Pressure needs to come. If we're paying Jalen Carter, if we have the guys in the interior to get the pressure that we need, and the edge rushers who can set the edge, drop into coverage when need them, or play the flat defender when Vic needs them, and can kind of do everything. Not great, but good enough. Maybe that's enough. Maybe that's enough. Jay Capilot says, the edges have been getting pressure all camp. I don't know what you're hearing. I haven't heard much of that. Certainly not with the first team. Now, remember, they're going up against Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. So, we'll see. David LaPrade says, Sidney needs to learn to tackle. I agree, David. I just talked about that. I'd like to see that too, man. He's got to take that next step. I think better question is Sidney. So Redemption Tour has more questions on Sidney than he does on Makuba at this point. But he also said, why would we have confidence in Makuba? So Redemption, sounds like you're in my boat. I mean, you're not really confident in either of the two yet. It's show me, it's a wait and see. It's show me what you are. Show me who you are, and then I'll have confidence. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. All right. I'm kind of in the same boat as you. Philly Don checks in. He says, mixed feelings, but I want to see him get the work and experience in real game. I think you're talking about Makuba there. I agree, Philly Don. Let's see what he can do. First game today for Andrew Makuba. First game today. B. Preston's in here. What's up, Preston? Good to see you, brother. Appreciate everybody for being here. As always, don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We got plenty more content coming all day long, all week long, all season long, all year long, all decade long, baby. All decade long. Philly Don says, screw Ringo. I'd rather see Bennett in there with a full week of practice in this scheme. I want to see Bennett today too. He's probably, let's rank the top 5 players today that we're watching. Let's rank the top 5 players today that we're watching. Number 1 for me is Andrew Makuba. All right, first game as an Eagle. The guy that they drafted to take over for what C.J. Gardner-Johnson did, a guy that they feel like is physical but is good in space, is a good coverage safety, does a lot of different things well. I happen to think he's way too small, at least until he puts some weight on in the NFL world. But number 1 for me, Andrew Makuba today. All right. What is number 1 for everybody else? I'll look for some of your guys' comments. Number 2 today for me. So number 1, I got Makuba. Number 2 today, Jacorian Bennett. You know what? I'm making him 3. Number 2 today is Keely Ringo. It's Keely Ringo. I want to see Ringo do something. Like the Eagles want Ringo to do something. I want Ringo to do something. They were never supposed to have to trade for Jacorian Bennett because they were confident in Ringo. They let Slay walk out the door because of Ringo. He's been developing for 2 years going into year 3 for Ringo. And after 15 practices into camp, in the 15th one, he plays his least amount of snaps with the first or second team all camp. Does it feel like we're reaching a breaking point on Ringo? Does it feel like we're reaching a break? Maybe it's too early. Maybe you got to get into the regular season. Maybe we don't know what Vic is trying to do. Maybe. Those things are obviously plausible. But to me, it feels like they're reaching a breaking point. I mean, for those who missed the day number 2 of joint practice recap, which was day 15 of Eagles training camp, listen to this. All right? Maybe some of you heard this. Ringo didn't get a single first-team rep, and he didn't start on the second team either. So your first-team corners were Quinyon Mitchell and Adoree Jackson. And then your second-team corners were Jacorian Bennett and Eli Ricks. What? Keely Ringo not even with the second team? And by the way, this is joint practice. Remember, guys, the NFL collectively doesn't care about preseason games anymore. Collectively. Nobody gives a shit. So the most important part of camp for many teams in terms of competition that's not the players in your own color jerseys are joint practices. And in the second of 2, 50% of the time, in 2 of the most important practices of the summer, Keely Ringo is barely with the second team. Feels like it's a put up or shut up, or you're done, or you have no chance to win the job. Go back to your gunner role, and we'll trade you after the year, or we'll trade you halfway through the year. That's what it feels like to me with Ringo. Now, it's probably too early to say that, but that's kind of what it's starting to feel like for me. So number 2 is Ringo for me. Number 1, Makuba. Number 2, Ringo. Number 3 is Jacorian Bennett, all right, because he's your insurance. You know, if Ringo stinks, no, Adoree, I should say Adoree is your insurance. But, you know, if the insurance was so good in Adoree, they wouldn't have traded for Ringo for Bennett. So either Ringo or Bennett going to have to do something. Or else we're at, you know, that crappy insurance policy that we really never really wanted to play, but you're forced to play. So number 3 is Jacorian Bennett. It'll be his first game as an Eagle. He was traded here about almost 2 full weeks ago. Monday will mark 2 weeks since the Jacorian Bennett trade where they sent Thomas Booker to the Raiders and brought in Jacorian Bennett. And this is his first game on the field today. And perhaps he makes us feel a little better about corner. I don't know. We'll see what he can do today. Number 3 is Jacorian Bennett. All right, number 4 today. This is where I think it gets a little harder. Probably Jihad Campbell. All right, Jihad Campbell was a first-round pick Jahad Campbell has the highest expectations of any of the unproven players on the football team right now. Jahad Campbell is somebody that, if he does come along, if he does develop, if he does get to where we want him to get to, he would provide the biggest immediate impact to the team, in my opinion. So Jahad Campbell has a huge upside. Number one, first round draft pick. That's my number 4 today. I might have to extend this because number 5, I'm a little bit torn between 2 players. Number 5, I want to put Darius Cooper because I love him. And I want to see what he does now in the second game. I want this kid to make the team. I think it's a no-brainer that he should make the team. But how do you put him over some of the edge rushers? How do you put him over Ty Robinson? How do you put him over some of the guys that are going to be necessary? So I tried to come up with 5 players, but I might have to extend my list. Number 5, I'm going to put or no, did I skip number 4? Yeah, I put Bennett 3. Number 4, I put Campbell. Number 5, I'm going to put Darius Cooper. And number 6, I'm going to put, how about the edge rushing group collectively for crying out loud? You know, who does what? Can anybody do anything? Because remember, first preseason game, they didn't do shit. All right? They didn't do shit in that game. They had no pressure in that game. Joe Burrow had a perfect passer rating in that game with 2 touchdown passes and a rushing touchdown. or was it 2? Was it only 1? Was it only 1 each? Was it 2 total touchdowns? Might have been 2 total. I mean, I don't know. So the edge rusher group collectively, number 7, let's go with Ty Robinson. All right, I think that's what you're looking at in today's game. At least that's what I'm looking at. You know, those are the big positions that I want to see what they're able to do, see who comes out on top, see who shows something today. And I think those are all going to be positive things. I got the game on back here. What's it on today? Is it only NFL Network or is it NBC Philly? Is it NBC Philly as well or what? Let me look here what we got. I'll give you guys the update on what the game is on today. All right, I'll give you guys the update. Yeah, so it's on NFL Network. You can see I'm squinting. I don't have my glasses on. It's also on NBC 10. All right, so if you're in the area, if you're in the Philadelphia region, it is on NBC 10, so you can watch it on there. And if not, you can watch it on the NFL Network. All right. So Mad Bird, I got an NFL Network too. Alex says, who do y'all think wins? I don't think it matters who wins. I think I care more about the players on the Eagles today than the outcome of the game. But, you know, you always want to win, Alex. You always want to win in anything you do in life. All right. That's why I was mad about the joint practice number 2 where the Browns beat the piss out of us. Oh, it's just practice. How about you win everything? How you do anything is how you do everything in life. All right. I was told that slogan a long time ago. I've tried to live by that. How you do anything is how you do everything. You don't come in to lose. You don't come in and say, yeah, we actually don't care about the outcome. We actually don't care about the outcome today. No. We always care about the outcome. All right. Trenton says, I can't wait for the regular season. You and me both, Trenton. It's going to be a great one, man. We're going to have a great year this year. It's going to be a lot of fun. Mark Holmes in a turtleneck. Who's starting? I don't know. Any update yet on the quarterback? Let me go and look on Twitter if there's anything that's been put out. I don't know. The Eagles just tweeted up getting ready, and they posted a picture of Tanner McKay. So I'm not sure if it's going to be Tanner McKay. I think it should be Tanner McKay. All right. I think it should be Tanner McKay. So we will see. We will see who plays there. Who do you think wins the CB2 position? Dude, I have no idea right now. None. I think they're going to default to Adoree Jackson, to be honest with you. Like, I feel like they're going to default to Adoree Jackson because he's the veteran guy who at least – he might not be good, but at the very least he knows how to play. You know, so Vic likes that. Vic is probably going to want that. You know, so I don't know. Like, I think Adoree Jackson, that doesn't make me excited. If it makes you excited, you can let me know. It doesn't make me excited. Keely Ringo was the guy that they wanted to win the job coming into training camp, and he has been I think a stiff is an understatement on him, unfortunately. unfortunately. I obviously am not happy about saying that. We need him, but he's not doing good. They make a trade for Ja'Cory Bennett. He was getting burnt in practice. I don't know. I think Ja'Cory, you got to give a little bit more time. But I say the same thing about Ja'Cory as I do about Makuba. I'm not worried about him in the future. I'm sure that they might turn into good players one day. I'm talking about 2025 right now. I need a player for 2025. All right. It's August 16th. Our first game kicks off September 4th, not September 20th, September 4th. I need a player for right now. All right. You want to talk about Makuba in the future, Ja'Cory in the future, Ringo in the future? Maybe. Yeah, sure. That's fine. I'm worried about right now. Be where your feet are right now. That's what I'm worried about right now. Not worried, but that's the one I'm thinking about. That's the one I'm thinking about. And if Ja'Cory can't show it, you probably default immediately to Adoree Jackson. Vic wants the veteran guy, I'm sure. And I mean, dude, it's a deal. I don't know. I'm not sure if you were here when I was talking about Ringo earlier. It's bad news bears for Ringo right now. I know look, a lot of people will comment. A lot of people get mad at me. You're supposed to be you. Ringo started the year, came into training camp, and the Eagles, by all means, wanted him to win the job. 15 practices later, 1 preseason game later, 2 joint practices later, and he barely got a second team rep yesterday or Thursday versus the Browns. He barely got a second team rep. Eli Ricks and Ja'Cory Bennett were your starting second team defense in the most important practice of the summer. He's going backwards. He's going completely backwards. Not a good sign for Ringo, unfortunately. All right. Anthony says Ringo is more a safety. I could be wrong here, but he doesn't seem to have the playing IQ for this team. Coop and Q got it almost day one. Anthony, I can't really disagree with you. I'm wondering if that's one of the concerns with Ringo is that he's struggling to get down he doesn't have the football IQ necessary to thrive in Vic's system, which is talked about widely as a communication heavy system, as a complex scheme, as something that does take time. He asks his players to do a lot of things. So not trying to attack the kid, but we'll see. David says, all right, please don't get me wrong. It matters a lot because of what it implies for later, but it doesn't mean the same thing as a win or loss that counts. That's all. I'm not sure what you're talking about. That's a major concern. It is a major concern. All right. It is a major concern. Abe says, is Campbell still limited? I think to some extent. I hope we see him out there today, Abe. Let me put on NBC 10 because I really should get out my iPad. Let me see if I can get my iPad out. Oh, shit, it's dead. These iPads die so easily. Let me get my iPad out and see if I can load up this game on NBC 10. All right. I don't know. I mean, look, still a lot to look forward to today. I'm really hoping McKee plays. Rob Thompson should be. Abe, shut up with that. Abe, stop it. I had some dude in my comments last night on Twitter. Oh, my gosh. He pitched them and they were up 4 runs. Dude, I don't give a shit. What do you want, the guy in bubble wrap? We're playing professional sports. Oh, my God. It's managerial malpractice that Duran got hit in the ankle with the ball. Yeah, right. Blame Rob Thompson that a ball kicked off Duran's ankle. Come on, Abe. What do you want, these guys in bubble wrap? I have no issue with Rob Thompson last night. He's been a great manager this year for the Phillies. A great manager. Oh, yeah, and Duran kicks one off the ankle, and now we should fire him? Shut the fuck up, Abe. Abe, I love you. But you sound like the Nimrods on Phillies Twitter who have a freak out at everything that happens. It can happen in any game. If you want to put a guy in, what's the point of playing him at all? Oh my God, we need him for the play. Okay, then put him on the bench. Why did you trade for the guy? Why'd you even trade for the guy? Now everybody's mad at Rob Thompson. I know. All the baseball nerds. I know. It didn't meet your quota for data on when you should bring a closer into the game. I had one dude. A close is only 1 to 3 runs. I'm like, thanks, Captain Obvious. I didn't need the handbook on on how to play baseball. I know I watched many times in my life growing up, Mariano Rivera close the game up 4 runs. I don't really give a shit. He's a closer. Put him in the game to close out the game. They had a 3-game losing streak. They needed to win last night, and they put the closer in. If I see one more fire Rob Thompson in the midst of a great season for him, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. Phillies fans drive me crazy. I love Duran, Yale. I love him. I'm a huge fan. He is awesome. But good night. Good night. Fire Rob. I mean, come on, man. Guy's managing a great season right now. A great season. We'll see, man. The Phillies do not stink. The Phillies lose some games by a great deal of runs, but they still win it. Yeah, I think they won their 70th game last night. Nah, I'm not taking Abe's wrench. All right. Yeah, Dirty Air. I'm a big Rob. I like Rob Thompson. I fought with people at the end of last year when they lost in the playoffs and people wanted them fired. And I'm like, I know. That's always the solution, right? Fire the manager. I know. I mean, come on, man. It's like the only thing people can come up with. Durant takes a ball off the ankle, How dare Rob Thompson put him into the game? Come on. I ride with Philly Rob too, man. I ride with Philly Rob too. I'm a Rob Thompson guy. And I'm certainly not mad at him for Duran's injury. All right? It's a freak thing. It sucks it happened, but it always woulda, coulda, shoulda. Always. Now, that will exist in every realm of life. All right, we're 6 minutes out from this game. This iPad's not charging. Let me load up this NFL Network. Sorry, I had to go on a Phillies rant for a second. All right? I had to go on a Phillies rant for a second because I was, quite frankly, I'm done. I had dudes in my Twitter account last night because I tweeted out about Duran getting hit in the ankle. Oh, my gosh. How dare Rob put him in? I'm like, yeah, me and you don't think about life the same, my friend. Get out of my mentions. Bam says, Rob Thompson is only the winningest Phillies manager since Charlie Manager. I'm not sure we should fire him. Yeah, with 70 wins, Bam. They're at 70 wins right now. All right? They got 70 wins right now, and people want to blow them out because a pitcher took a ball off an ankle. Oh, man. Classic. One dude commented back to me, and he says, you're young. You're young, Zander, and that's okay. I said, my age has nothing to do with your stupidity, you fucking Nimrod. Actually, I told him, I actually said, dumb comment, opinion disregarded. See ya, bitch. I had to go hard on him. All right. I had to go hard on him. So we'll see how it goes. All right, we'll see how it goes. I think the Phillies are in a good spot. But all right, everybody, I'm gonna get out of here. Enjoy the game. I will be live immediately after the game. I might stream a little bit in the game, but my problem is I didn't eat yet. It's 1 o'clock. I haven't eaten a thing yet today. So I knew I wasn't going into the game today, unfortunately. I know you guys probably wanted me to stick around for the game, but I will not be on for the whole game today. I appreciate you watching. Let's enjoy this game. Let's enjoy this preseason game. Look, I know a lot of people always say, it's preseason, they suck, and I get that. But look, we're Eagles fans through and through. We think about this team. We talk about this team. We watch content on this team. We analyze this team 12 months of the year. When they're on the football field, I'm excited, guys. There's only 23 of these things max, or 24 of them max, excuse me, if they didn't have a bye week, and then they went to the Super Bowl, plus the 3 preseason games. There's only 24 max. The only possible amount of games you could ever see the Eagles play in the next 365 days is now 23 because 1 preseason game is done. So enjoy it. I'm enjoying it. I know it's preseason. I know you're not going to see all the starters. I know you're not going to see the stars. I know you're not going to see everything you want to see, but we love the Birds. I'm enjoying when they put on a uniform and they wear an Eagles jersey and they're out on the TV. I'm watching it. I'm enjoying it. So it's better than the alternative. It's better than them not being on. Okay. It's better than it being a Saturday at 1 with nothing on TV, and you gotta deal with, like, I don't know. I shouldn't say it, but I digress. All right. Love all you guys. Appreciate you watching. Hit the like button. I hope you enjoyed my rant on Rob Thompson. We ride with Philly, Rob. Love all you guys. See you next time, everybody.
EAGLES. Eagles.